The quantum gate shimmered with purple light inside the small diner on Lunar Station 7. Everyone stopped eating. The air felt heavy like before a storm. Then he stepped through. Emperor Taehyun was massive. His scales were black like midnight, but they looked dull and tired. He wore simple traveling clothes, not his royal robes. In his arms he carried something small that cried and cried. The baby dragon was the size of a human infant. Her scales were white like pearls, and they glowed softly in the dim light. She wailed with a sound that made the windows shake. Small puffs of smoke came from her tiny nostrils with each sob. The other customers ran. A group of tall Stellarian merchants grabbed their bags and rushed to the exit. 2 void dwellers, creatures made of living shadow, melted through the walls. Within seconds, the diner was almost empty. Only the staff remained, and they looked terrified. Taehyun walked slowly to a corner booth. His shoulders sagged with exhaustion. He sat down carefully, still holding the crying baby. He rocked her gently, but she would not stop. Her little claws gripped his shirt, and tears rolled down her small face. Behind the counter, Manager Da Jung whispered urgently into his communicator. "We have a situation." "Dragon Emperor." "Yes, the Emperor. What do I do?" The station's security captain's voice crackled back. "Keep your distance. Do not provoke him. Dragons are dangerous when stressed." In the kitchen, Daon heard everything. She was washing dishes, but she stopped to peek through the serving window. She saw the large dragon man sitting alone. She saw the crying baby. She saw how his hands shook as he tried to comfort the child. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. "Fear makes enemies, Daon. Compassion makes family." Dayun dried her hands on her apron. She was 26 years old and had worked on the moon station for 2 years. She came here to earn money for her family's debts back on Earth. The work was hard, but she never complained. She picked up a tray. On it, she placed a glass of water and a small bowl of warm milk. She did not know what dragon babies drank, but warm milk helped human babies. Maybe it would help. "Don't go out there," Da Jung hissed. "Are you crazy?" Dayan smiled softly. "He looks like he needs help." "He's an emperor. He could kill you with one hand." "He's also a father with a crying baby," Daun said. She pushed through the kitchen door. Her footsteps were quiet on the tile floor. The baby's cries filled the diner. Taehyun did not look up. His eyes were closed, and he pressed his forehead against the baby's head. Daun reached the table. She set down the tray gently. Taehyun's eyes snapped open. They were golden like the sun, and they burned with anger and pain. "Human," his voice was deep and rough. "I require no service. Leave us." His tone would have scared most people. It was the voice of someone who ruled millions. Someone who could destroy planets if he wished. But Daun saw past the anger. She saw the dark circles under his eyes. She saw how his hands trembled. She saw a father who was breaking inside. "Everyone needs kindness, Your Majesty," she said quietly. "Even emperors." She pushed the glass and bowl closer to him. Then she did something that shocked him. She did not run. She stood there waiting with her hands folded calmly in front of her. Taehyun stared at her. No one stood before him without fear. Even his most trusted advisors bowed and trembled. But this small human woman looked at him with something different in her eyes. Sympathy. The baby, whose name was Heirin, cried louder. Her small body was hot with fever. The heat made the air around her shimmer. "How long has she been crying?" Daehyun asked. Taehyun was silent for a long moment. Then, as if the words were pulled from him against his will, he spoke. 3 days. Maybe 4. I have lost track of time. Have you seen a doctor?" A bitter laugh escaped him. "I have seen 20 doctors. The finest healers in the Dragon Imperium. They gave her medicine. They used magic. They sang healing songs. Nothing works. Why is she crying?" Taehyun's jaw tightened.
"And they say..."
"She feels my grief. Dragons are connected to their parents emotionally. She senses my pain and it becomes hers." Daehyun nodded slowly. She understood grief. Her grandmother had died 1 year ago. The pain still felt fresh sometimes. "May I hold her?" she asked. "No." The word was sharp and immediate. "Your Majesty, you have been holding her for days. Your arms must be tired. Let me help for just a few minutes. You are human. You might drop her. You might hurt her." "I raised my 3 younger brothers," Daehyun said. "I know how to hold babies. I will be very careful." Something in her calm voice made Taehyun hesitate. He looked at Heirin. The baby's cries were getting weaker. She was exhausting herself. He had tried everything else. What did he have to lose? Slowly, carefully, he extended his arms toward Daun. She took the baby gently. Heirin was hot, much hotter than a human baby should be. Her scales felt smooth and warm against Daun's arms. For a moment, the baby cried even harder, not recognizing the stranger. Daun held her close to her chest. She began to rock slowly, side to side, the way her grandmother had taught her. Then she started to hum. The melody was old, very old. It was a Korean lullaby called Jajang Jajang. Her grandmother sang it when Daun was small. The tune was simple and sweet. Something amazing happened. Heirin's cries became quieter, not much, but enough to notice. The baby's small body relaxed slightly against Daun's chest. Taehyun leaned forward, his eyes wide. "What are you doing?" "Just humming," Daun said softly. She continued the melody, letting it flow naturally. Dragons have songs too, powerful songs of magic and healing. None of them worked. "Maybe she does not need magic right now," Daehyun said. "Maybe she just needs to feel safe." The humming continued. Heirin's breathing started to slow. Her small claws, which had been tense, began to relax. The fever in her body seemed to cool just a little. Taehyun watched in amazement. This human, this simple waitress, was doing what the greatest minds of his empire could not do. She was reaching his daughter, but something else was happening too. As Daun hummed, Taehyun felt something strange in his chest. A warmth. A gentle, growing warmth that he had not felt in years, since his mate died. His scales, which had been dull and dark, began to shimmer slightly. Just at the edges, just barely, but it was there. Dajung peeked out from the kitchen, his mouth hanging open. The few remaining customers who had hidden in the bathroom crept back to their tables. They watched in silence as the human woman calmed a dragon emperor's child. Heirin's cries turned to small whimpers, then to quiet breathing. Her eyes, golden like her father's, began to droop closed. Daehyun kept humming. She swayed gently, holding the baby with practiced ease. She had done this 1,000 times for her brothers. It felt natural. Taehyun's throat felt tight. When was the last time he had felt something other than grief? When was the last time the heavy stone in his chest had felt lighter? "How?" he whispered. "How are you doing this?" Dawn looked up at him. Her eyes were kind. "My grandmother used to say that music is how humans share our spirits. When we sing, we give a piece of our heart to others. Dragons share memories through telepathy," Taehyun said. "We can show each other our thoughts, but we never learn to share comfort like this." "Maybe that is what she needs," Daun said gently. "Maybe Heirin needs to feel emotions, not just know about them." The words hit Taehyun like a lightning bolt. In one simple sentence, this human had explained what all his advisors could not. His people were powerful. They lived for thousands of years. They could move mountains with their magic. But they had forgotten how to simply feel together. They had forgotten how to share comfort without words or telepathy. They had forgotten the power of presence. Heirin's eyes closed completely. She fell asleep in Daehyun's arms, her small chest rising and falling peacefully. It was the first time she had slept in 4 days. Taehyun felt tears forming in his eyes. Dragons rarely cried. It took profound pain or profound joy to make them weep. Right now he felt both. "Thank you," he said, his voice breaking. "Thank you," Daun smiled. "You are welcome, Your Majesty." She looked down at the sleeping baby. "She is beautiful." "She is all I have left," Taehyun admitted. Her mother, my mate, was killed 6 months ago. Rebels attacked a peace conference. They wanted to hurt me by hurting her. I am so sorry. I have tried to be strong. An emperor must be strong. But inside, he touched his chest. Inside I am broken. And Heirin feels it. She cries because I cannot. Daewon looked at him with understanding. "Grief is not meant to be locked away, Your Majesty. It is meant to be felt, to be lived through. Maybe that is why she keeps crying. She needs you to grieve with her, not hide your pain." No one had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever dared to suggest that his strength was actually weakness. But somehow, from this human, the truth did not feel like criticism. It felt like a gift. Daehyun looked down at the sleeping baby in her arms. Heirin's small face was peaceful now. Her white scales glowed softly in the diner's light. Tiny wisps of smoke drifted from her nostrils with each breath, but they were gentle, not violent like before. "Would you like her back?" Daehyun asked quietly. Taehyun hesitated. For 4 days he had held his daughter constantly. His arms ached. His back hurt. But more than that, he was terrified. Terrified that the moment he relaxed, Something bad would happen. Terrified that he would fail Hyrin the way he felt he had failed her mother. He paused. His voice was barely a whisper. I am afraid to hold her. Da-un studied his face. She saw the truth there. This powerful emperor who commanded fleets of starships and ruled billions of dragons was scared of his own child. Why? She asked gently. Taehyun's hands clenched into fists on the table. Because every time I hold her, I remember her mother. I see my mate's face in hers. I feel the grief all over again. And Hyrin senses it. She feels my pain and then she cries and I cannot stop her. I cannot fix it. Maybe you are not supposed to fix it, Da-un said. She moved slowly and sat down across from him, still cradling Hyrin. Maybe you were just supposed to feel it together. That makes no sense. I'm her father. I should protect her from pain, not give her more of it. You are also a person who lost someone you loved. That pain is real. Pretending it does not exist does not make it go away. It just makes it heavier. Taehyun looked at this human woman with wonder. She was so small compared to him. So fragile. Humans lived such short lives, barely a century if they were lucky. Yet she spoke with the wisdom of someone who had lived 1,000 years. How did you learn this? He asked. Taehyun smiled sadly. My grandmother died last year. She raised me after my parents died in an accident. For months I tried to be strong. I worked hard. I sent money to my brothers. I did not cry. I thought that was what she would have wanted. What happened? I got sick. My body got sick because my heart was sick. A doctor told me I was holding too much inside. So I finally let myself cry. I cried for days. And after that I could breathe again. Taehyun absorbed her words. In dragon culture, showing weakness was dangerous. Enemies waited for any sign of vulnerability. Emperors especially could never show doubt or pain. But this human was teaching him that perhaps his culture had it wrong. Tell me about her, Da-un said. Tell me about your mate, Taehyun's breath caught. No one had asked him to talk about her. Everyone avoided the subject, afraid to upset him. But Da-un's eyes were kind, inviting, safe. Her name was Surin, he began slowly. She was fierce, brave. She believed in peace between species. She thought dragons had been conquerors for too long, that we needed to learn to be partners instead. She sounds wonderful. She was. We met during a diplomatic mission to the Stellarian homeworld. She was arguing with their chancellor about trade rights. She was brilliant. I fell in love with her mind before I even saw her face. Da-un smiled. How long were you together? 50 years. For humans, that seems like a long time. For dragons, it was too short. We are meant to live for thousands of years with our mates. 50 years was just the beginning. But you had 50 years of happiness. That is something precious, Taehyun nodded. His eyes glistened with unshed tears. The rebels who killed her wanted to start a war. They believed peace made us weak. They set a bomb at the peace conference. Surin was giving a speech when it exploded. His voice broke. I was supposed to be there. But I stayed home because Hyrin had a fever. Just a small fever, nothing serious. If I had gone, maybe I could have protected her. Maybe I could have seen the danger. Maybe you would be dead too. Da-un interrupted softly. And then Hyrin would have no parents at all. Taehyun stared at her. He had never thought of it that way. All these months he had blamed himself for surviving. He had called himself a coward for staying home. But Da-un was right. Hyrin needed him. You are her father, Da-un continued. You are alive. That is not something to feel guilty about. That is something to be grateful for. A tear rolled down Taehyun's cheek, then another. He did not wipe them away. For the first time since Surin died, he let himself cry in front of someone else. Da-un reached across the table with her free hand and placed it on his. Her hand was tiny compared to his, but her touch was warm and steady. She did not speak. She just sat with him while he grieved. In the kitchen, Da-jung watched through the serving window. His communicator buzzed constantly with messages from station security, from news networks, from the dragon envoys who were surely on their way. But he ignored them all. Something important was happening at that table, and he would not interrupt it. After a long moment, Taehyun took a shaky breath. He wiped his face with his hand. I apologize. That was not appropriate. Crying is always appropriate when you are sad, Da-un said. My grandmother used to say that tears are how the heart cleans itself. Your grandmother was very wise. She was. I wish you could have met her. Taehyun looked down at Hyrin, still sleeping peacefully in Da-un's arms. How are you doing that? He asked. How are you keeping her calm? I am not doing anything special. I am just holding her and letting her feel safe. But she cried when I held her. Because you were holding her with fear and guilt. Babies sense those feelings. They know when the person holding them is tense. How do I stop being afraid? Dayan thought for a moment. You do not stop being afraid. You just decide that loving her is more important than protecting yourself from pain. The words struck deep. Taehyun realized what he had been doing. He had been holding Haerin at arm's length emotionally, afraid that loving her completely would hurt too much if he ever lost her. But in protecting himself, he had abandoned her in the way she needed him most. I do not know if I can do that, he admitted. You can, Daewon said with certainty. You already love her. I can see it in your eyes. You just need to let yourself feel it without fear. Will you help me? Daewon smiled. Of course. She stood up slowly, careful not to wake Haerin. She moved around the table and stood beside Taehyun. Hold out your arms, he did. His hands trembled slightly. Take a deep breath, Daewon instructed. Let all the fear out with your breath. Taehyun breathed deeply. He felt his shoulders relax just a little. Now, think about something happy. Think about Surin's smile. Think about the first time you held Haerin after she was born. Think about good memories. Taehyun closed his eyes. He remembered Surin laughing at one of his terrible jokes. He remembered holding Haerin for the first time, her scales still soft and warm from the egg. He remembered joy. Good, Daewon whispered. Hold on to those feelings. She carefully lowered Haerin into Taehyun's arms. The baby stirred slightly but did not wake. Her small head rested against his chest, right over his heart. Taehyun held his breath. He waited for the crying to start again. But it did not. Haerin simply slept, peaceful and warm. She can feel your heartbeat, Daewon said. That is what babies need most. To feel their parents' heartbeat and know they are safe. Taehyun looked down at his daughter, really looked at her for the first time in months. She was beautiful. She had Surin's elegant features and his golden eyes. She was a perfect mix of both of them. Hello, little star, he whispered, using his pet name for her. I am sorry I have been so far away. I am here now. Haerin made a small content sound in her sleep. Her tiny hand gripped his shirt. Something shifted inside Taehyun's chest. The heavy stone of grief was still there, but it felt different now. Less crushing. More like a weight he could learn to carry instead of one that would destroy him. He looked up at Daewon with wonder. How did you do this? I did not do anything, you did. You chose to be present with her. That is all she needed. But the crying, the days of pain. Sometimes babies cry because they need something. Sometimes they cry because their parents need to hear it. Maybe Haerin was crying for both of you. The truth of those words settled over Taehyun like a blanket. His daughter had been doing what he could not. She had been expressing the grief that he kept locked inside. She had been crying the tears he refused to shed. I have been a fool, he said quietly. You have been grieving, Daewon corrected. That is not the same thing. She sat back down across from him. For a while they sat in comfortable silence. Haerin slept. Taehyun held her with growing confidence. Daewon watched them with a small smile. Why did you help me? Taehyun asked finally. You do not know me. I could be dangerous. Everyone deserves compassion, Daewon said simply. Emperor or not, dragon or human, everyone deserves kindness when they are hurting. Most people fear dragons. Most people have not met dragons. They just know stories. But stories are not the same as truth. What is the truth? Daewon tilted her head thoughtfully. The truth is that you are a father who loves his daughter. The truth is that you are grieving someone important. The truth is that you are doing your best even when your best feels like it is not enough. That is the truth I see. Taehyun felt something crack open inside his chest. Not painfully, but like ice melting in spring. This human saw him, not as an emperor, not as a dragon, just as a person. When was the last time anyone had seen him like that? Haerin slept for another 20 minutes in her father's arms. It was the longest she had slept in days. When she finally woke up, her golden eyes opened slowly. She looked around, confused for a moment, then focused on Taehyun's face. For a brief second he tensed, waiting for the crying to start again, but instead Haerin made a soft cooing sound. Her small hand reached up and touched his face right where tears had fallen earlier. Da, she babbled. It was one of the few sounds she could make. Da-da. Taehyun's heart felt like it might burst. Yes, he whispered. I am here, little star. I am here. Taeyun watched the moment with joy in her eyes. This was what healing looked like. Small, gentle, real. She is hungry, Taehyun said, noticing how Haerin's mouth moved. I have been so focused on stopping her crying that I forgot she needs to eat regularly. What do dragon babies eat? Taehyun asked. A special milk with minerals and magic nutrients. I have some in my travel bag. He looked around and realized he had dropped his bag when he first entered. It was near the door. I will get it, Daewon said, standing up. She walked to the entrance and picked up the heavy leather bag. When she brought it back, Taehyun opened it with one hand while holding Haerin with the other. Inside was a silver bottle that glowed faintly. He offered it to Haerin and she latched onto it immediately, drinking eagerly. Her scales brightened as she fed, going from dull white to shining pearl. She was very hungry, Daewon observed. I tried to feed her many times, but she kept refusing. She was too upset to eat. Taehyun shook his head. I should have known. I should have done better. You are doing better now. That is what matters. While Haerin ate, Daewon went back to the counter and returned with 2 cups of tea. She placed one in front of Taehyun. The steam rose in delicate spirals carrying the scent of chamomile and honey. For your nerves, she explained. Taehyun smiled slightly. Do I seem nervous? You seem like someone who has been holding the weight of the world for too long. He could not argue with that. He took a sip of the tea. It was good, simple, and warm. He had drunk expensive wines from 1,000 worlds, but this simple human tea somehow tasted better than all of them. May I ask you something personal? Taehyun said after a moment. You have already seen me cry. I think we are past formalities, she smiled. What made you come here? To this station, I mean. To Earth territory. Taehyun looked down at Haerin, who was finishing her bottle. I needed to get away. The Imperial Palace was suffocating. Everyone had opinions about what I should do, how I should rule, how I should mourn, how I should raise Haerin. I just needed silence, space. And you chose a human station? I chose neutral territory, somewhere I could be anonymous for a few hours. He laughed bitterly. That worked well, did it not? Sometimes we find what we need in unexpected places, Daewon said. Is that more of your grandmother's wisdom? Actually, that is mine. Taehyun looked at her carefully. Really looked at her. She had dark hair pulled back in a simple bun. Her uniform was clean but worn at the edges. She had kind eyes and gentle hands. There was nothing remarkable about her by dragon standards. No magic, no special powers, no political influence. But she had done what no one else could. She had reached through his walls and touched something real inside him, and she had done it with nothing but kindness and simple truth. Why do you work here? He asked. On the moon, far from your home. I am paying off my family's debts, Daewon explained. My grandmother needed expensive medical care before she died. The treatments cost more than we had. I took a contract to work here for 3 years. The pay is good and I can send most of it home to my brothers. You have brothers? 3 younger ones, 16, 14, and 11 years old. They are in school on Earth. I want them to finish their education, to have opportunities I did not have. What opportunities did you not have? Daewon shrugged. I had to leave school at 15 to take care of my grandmother. I wanted to be a teacher, but life had other plans. Taehyun felt a surge of respect for this woman. She had sacrificed her dreams for her family. She worked in a lonely outpost far from home, just to give her brothers a better life. That was true strength. You would have made an excellent teacher, he said sincerely. Maybe someday I still will. After my contract ends, I will have enough saved to go back to school. 2 more years? 1 year and 4 months, actually. But who is counting? She grinned. Taehyun found himself smiling back. When was the last time he had smiled like this? Without force, without effort, just a natural expression of something pleasant. Haerin finished her bottle and burped. It was a tiny sound, followed by a small puff of smoke. Taehyun laughed at the sight. She has excellent manners, Daewon teased. All dragon babies breathe fire when they burp. It is completely normal. Taehyun sounded defensive but amused. I am sure it is. For a moment, everything felt normal. Not like an emperor and a waitress, but just like 2 people talking while a baby finished her meal. It was strange how comfortable Taehyun felt. He had known this human for less than an hour, but something about her presence calmed him in a way nothing else had. Then his communicator buzzed. He glanced at the screen and sighed heavily. Your people found you, Taehyun guessed. My chief advisor, Yuan. He is persistent. Will you be in trouble? I am the emperor. I cannot be in trouble. But I will certainly be lectured. He looked at the message. They are sending an escort ship. It will arrive in approximately 30 minutes. Daun felt sadness wash over her. Of course he had to leave. He had a whole empire to run. A life completely different from hers. This brief moment of connection was just that. A moment. Then we should make the most of the time we have, she said, pushing the sadness away. What do you mean? You said dragon babies cry when they feel their parents' emotions, right? Yes. Then let us give Heirin some good emotions to feel. Tell me a happy memory. Tell me about something that made you laugh. Taehyun thought for a moment. When Surin was pregnant with Heirin, she had strange cravings. One night she woke me up at 3 in the morning because she absolutely needed to eat Stellarian ice crystals. What are those? Frozen water from the Stellarian moons. They have a unique mineral composition. They are considered a delicacy. That does not sound too strange. She wanted them covered in honey and crushed fire peppers. Daun made a face. That sounds terrible. It was terrible. I tried one to be supportive and I could not taste anything for 2 days. But she loved it. She ate 3 bowls of it. Taehyun chuckled at the memory. She had the strangest pregnancy cravings I had ever heard of. Did she eat anything else weird? She put salt on fruit. She dipped bread in tea. One time she mixed fish sauce with chocolate. Daun laughed. That is horrible. I know. But she insisted it was delicious. She said the baby wanted interesting flavors. Taehyun smiled widely now, lost in the memory. She was so beautiful when she was pregnant. She glowed. Literally, pregnant dragons glow with inner light. I used to joke that I did not need lamps anymore because she lit up the whole palace. As he spoke, something amazing happened. His scales began to shine brighter. The dullness that had covered them for months was fading. Color was returning, deep, rich black with hints of purple and blue at the edges, Daun noticed. Your scales are changing. Taehyun looked at his hands. Dragon scales reflect inner emotions. When we are healthy and happy, they shine. When we are sick or sad, they become dull. They are beautiful, Daun said honestly. He felt warmth spread through his chest again, that same strange feeling from earlier. Thank you. Heirin babbled happily, reaching for her father's face again. She seemed to sense his improved mood. Her own scales were bright and shimmering now, healthier than they had been in weeks. Tell me something about you, Taehyun said. A happy memory, Daun thought back. When I was 8 years old, my grandmother took me to a festival in our village. There were lanterns everywhere, hundreds of them, all different colors. She bought me sweet rice cakes and let me stay up past midnight to watch the fireworks. That sounds lovely. It was perfect. I remember holding her hand and thinking that I was the luckiest girl in the world. Daun smiled softly. I try to remember that feeling when things get hard. That feeling of being completely happy in a single moment. You carry her with you, Taehyun observed. Your grandmother, she is still part of you. Always. The people we love never truly leave us. They live on in our memories, in our habits, in the lessons they taught us. Surin lives on in Heirin, Taehyun said, looking at his daughter with new eyes. Every time Heirin laughs or shows curiosity or stands up for something she believes in, that will be Surin's legacy. Exactly. They sat together in comfortable silence for a while. Around them, the diner slowly came back to life. A few brave customers returned to their tables. Da-Young stopped hovering nervously and went back to cleaning glasses behind the counter. The station's usual sounds returned, the hum of life support systems, the chatter of different species, the beep of communicators. But at their table, Taehyun and Daun existed in a small bubble of peace. I do not want to go back, Taehyun admitted quietly. Why not? Because here right now I feel like myself. Not an emperor, not a political figure, just a person, a father. When I return to the palace, I will have to put on the mask again. Then do not put on the mask. It is not that simple. It is exactly that simple. A ship appeared outside the diner's windows. It was sleek and silver, marked with the royal dragon seal. The escort had arrived sooner than expected. Taehyun felt his peaceful moment slipping away. He held Heirin a little tighter. They are here, he said unnecessarily. Daehyun looked at the ship, then back at him. You do not look happy about that. I am not. But duty calls. Duty can wait 5 more minutes, can it not? He smiled. You are very bold for someone speaking to an emperor. You are very human for someone who is supposed to be all-powerful, she replied with a gentle smirk. The diner door opened. 3 dragon guards entered, all in formal military armor. Behind them came Yiwan, the chief advisor. He was tall and thin with silver scales that marked his age. He was over 3,000 years old and had served Taehyun's father before him. Yiwan's eyes found Taehyun immediately. His expression was a mix of relief and disapproval. "Your Majesty," he said with a formal bow, "we have been searching for you for hours. The council is concerned." "The council is always concerned," Taehyun replied calmly. "I needed some air." "Air? You traveled 3 systems away for air?" Yiwan's tone was sharp. Then he noticed Heirin sleeping peacefully in Taehyun's arms. His expression softened slightly. "Is the princess well?" "She is better now." Yiwan looked around the diner, his gaze landing on Da-eun. "And who is this?" "This is Kim Da-eun. She helped me with Heirin." Yiwan studied Da-eun with calculating eyes. "A human? You allowed a human to touch the royal princess?" "I did not allow anything," Taehyun said, his voice taking on an edge. "I asked for her help and she gave it freely." Da-eun stood up, recognizing she was suddenly in a very political situation. "I was just doing what anyone would do for a crying baby." "Not anyone would dare approach an emperor," Yiwan said coldly. "It was quite presumptuous." "It was quite kind," Taehyun corrected. "And it worked. Heirin has not stopped crying in 4 days. Daehyun calmed her in minutes." Yiwan frowned. "That is impressive, but surely now we should return home. The princess needs proper care. She has proper care. She has her father. With all due respect, Your Majesty, you need rest. You need your advisors. You need your empire. My empire will survive a few more hours without me." The tension in the room grew thick. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Da-jung ducked back into the kitchen, sensing this was not a conversation for outsiders. Da-eun, however, stood her ground. "Perhaps the emperor needs what is best for him and his daughter, not what is best for politics." Yiwan turned to her, surprise evident on his face. "You dare to presume what the emperor needs?" "I dare to care about what he needs," Da-eun replied calmly. "There is a difference." Taehyun felt something warm bloom in his chest. No one had defended him in a long time. Everyone always agreed with him or manipulated him. But Da-eun simply told the truth even when it was uncomfortable. "Yiwan," Taehyun said firmly, "you will treat Da-eun with respect. She has done more for my family in 1 hour than the entire Imperial Council has done in 6 months." Yiwan looked like he had been slapped. "Your Majesty, I did not mean—" "I know what you meant. And I am telling you to adjust your tone." A long silence followed. Finally, Yiwan bowed his head. "Of course, Your Majesty. My apologies, Miss Kim." Da-eun nodded, accepting the apology even though she could tell it was not entirely sincere. Taehyun looked down at Heirin, who had woken up from all the commotion. She was looking around curiously, her golden eyes wide. She did not cry, though. She seemed content. "I will return to the palace," Taehyun said, "but I will not pretend that everything is fine when it is not." "Yiwan, I want you to arrange something." "Anything, Your Majesty." "I want to establish a new position in the Imperial Court. A cultural advisor for emotional wellness." Yiwan blinked. "I am sorry, what?" "You heard me. Dragons have spent millennia focusing on logic, strategy, and power. We have forgotten how to process emotions in healthy ways. That ends now." "Your Majesty, with respect, this is a very sudden decision." "It is not sudden. It has been needed for a very long time. We just ignored it." Taehyun stood up carefully, still holding Heirin. "I want experts from various species. Humans, Stellarians, anyone who has wisdom about emotional health. I want them available to all dragons, not just the royal family." Yiwan looked troubled. "The council will resist this. They will say it makes us look weak. Then the council can learn to change their minds," Taehyun said sharply. "Strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is knowing how to live with emotion." He turned to Da-eun. "Thank you for everything you have done tonight." "I mean that sincerely," Da-eun smiled. "Take care of yourself, Your Majesty, and take care of her." "I will. I promise." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. It was one of his scales. He had removed it from the back of his hand. Dragon scales were precious, they held magic and memory. Giving one away was a significant gesture. "Take this," he said, offering it to Da-eun. She hesitated. "I cannot accept something so valuable." "It is a dragon tradition. When someone saves your life or the life of your family, you offer them a scale. It creates a debt of honor. I did not save anyone. I just sang a song." "You saved me," Taehyun said quietly. You reminded me how to be present, how to feel.
How to be a father.
That is worth more than you know. Dayun took the scale carefully. It was warm in her palm, about the size of her thumb. The black surface shimmered with inner light. What does this do? It allows you to call me once. If you ever need help, hold the scale and speak my name. I will come, no matter where I am or what I'm doing. That seems like a lot of power for a waitress to have. That seems like appropriate gratitude for someone who changed my life, he replied with a smile. Yuan cleared his throat. Your Majesty, we really should depart. The longer we stay, the more likely news networks will arrive. Taehyun nodded reluctantly. He looked at Daeun one more time. I hope our paths cross again. Maybe they will, Daeun said softly. He walked toward the door, surrounded by his guards. Yuan followed closely. Before stepping through, Taehyun turned back one last time. Daeun, yes? Do not stop being kind. The galaxy needs more people like you. Then he was gone. The ship outside hummed to life and lifted off smoothly, disappearing into the dark space beyond the station. Daeun stood alone in the diner, holding the scale. It pulsed gently in her hand, warm and alive. She felt strange. Happy, sad, confused, and hopeful all at once. Dajung emerged from the kitchen, his eyes wide. Do you have any idea what just happened? I helped a father with his baby, Daeun said simply. You helped the emperor of the Dracon Imperium. You held the royal princess. You have a dragon scale. Dajung shook his head in disbelief. This is insane. It was just the right thing to do. The right thing? Dajung laughed. Daeun, you are either the bravest or the craziest person I have ever met. Maybe both, she admitted. She looked at the scale again. It felt important, heavier than its physical weight, like it carried possibility. Over the next few days, the diner became famous. Word spread quickly about what had happened. News networks from dozens of planets wanted to interview Daeun. She refused them all. Customers came just to sit where the emperor had sat. They asked Dajung endless questions. Some people treated Daeun like a hero. Others thought she had been foolish to approach a dragon emperor. Daeun ignored all of it. She went back to work, washing dishes and serving customers. Life continued. But at night, alone in her small quarters, she would hold the scale and think about Taehyun. She wondered if he was okay, if Haerin was still sleeping peacefully, if he was following through on his promise to be more emotionally present. She hoped so. One night, 3 weeks after the incident, Daeun was walking back to her quarters after a long shift. The station corridors were quiet at this hour. Her feet hurt and she was tired. Her communicator buzzed. She looked at the screen and stopped walking. It was a message from an unknown source, but the imperial seal showed in the corner. She opened it carefully. The message was simple. Thank you. Haerin is thriving. The changes we discussed are moving forward. You gave us both a gift we did not know we needed. With gratitude, Taehyun. Attached was a holographic image. It showed Taehyun sitting in a garden, sunlight streaming through trees. Haerin was in his lap, laughing at something. Both of them looked happy, healthy. Their scales shined brilliantly. Daeun felt tears prick her eyes. She sent back a simple reply, I'm glad. Be well. She continued walking to her quarters, but her steps felt lighter. Sometimes, she thought, the smallest actions created the biggest changes. A song, a moment of kindness. A willingness to see someone as a person instead of a title. That night, she dreamed of gardens and laughter and golden eyes that looked at her with something that felt like hope. When she woke up the next morning, the scale was still on her nightstand, glowing softly in the dim light. She picked it up and smiled. Maybe our paths will cross again, she whispered to it. Deep in space on a palace balcony, Taehyun stood watching the sunrise. Haerin was asleep in her nursery, finally sleeping through the nights. He felt different, lighter, more present. He touched his chest where his own scale had been, the one he gave Daeun. He could feel its location faintly, a gentle tug across the stars. It was 3 months passed. Daeun's life returned to normal, or as normal as it could be after meeting an emperor. She still worked at the diner. She still sent money home to her brothers. She still dreamed of one day becoming a teacher. But something had changed inside her. She felt more confident, more purposeful. She had helped someone who seemed unreachable, and it reminded her that everyone, no matter how powerful, was still human, or dragon, but still a person who needed kindness. The station management tried to capitalize on the incident. They renamed the diner the Emperor's Rest and put a gold plaque on the booth where Taehyun had sat. Daeun found it embarrassing, but tourists loved it. She kept the dragon scale in a small box under her bed. Sometimes she took it out and held it, feeling its warmth. She had not used it to summon Taehyun. What would she even say? "Hello. I know you are busy running an empire, but I wanted to chat." It seemed silly. Life moved forward. Spring came to Earth, and even on the moon station they felt the change. People were happier. The flowers in the station's garden bloomed. Then everything changed one Tuesday afternoon. Da-yoon was restocking supplies in the storage room when Da-jung rushed in, his face pale. "Da-yoon, you need to see the news. Right now." She followed him to the front where a hollow screen showed a news broadcast. Her heart sank as she read the headline. Lunar Station 7 scheduled for decommission. The reporter explained that budget cuts meant the station would close in 6 months. All workers would be laid off. The facility would be sold for parts. Daeun felt her world tilt. They cannot do this. "We have contracts." "They can," Da-jung said grimly. "The contracts have a closure clause. They will pay us for 2 months as severance, but after that we are on our own." Around the diner, other workers gathered, watching the broadcast with shocked faces. Some were crying. Many had families depending on their income, just like Da-eun. "What will we do?" someone asked. No one had an answer. That night, Da-yoon sat in her quarters, staring at the box containing the dragon scale. She thought about her brothers. The oldest, Taesung, was about to start university. The middle one, Junho, needed new school supplies. The youngest, Minsu, was finally adjusting to school after years of struggling. If she lost this job, she could not support them. They would have to leave school and find work. All her sacrifices would mean nothing. She picked up the scale. It was warm in her palm, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. "Is this worthy enough?" she whispered to it. "People need help. Families will suffer. Is that worthy of calling an emperor?" The scale seemed to glow brighter, as if answering. Da-eun took a deep breath. She held the scale close to her heart. "Taehyun," she said clearly, "I need your help." For a moment, nothing happened. She felt foolish. Of course nothing would happen. He was probably in a meeting or sleeping, or the air in front of her shimmered. Purple light swirled like water, forming a circle. Then Taehyun stepped through alone, dressed in simple clothes. His eyes found her immediately. "Taehyun, are you hurt?" She stood up quickly, suddenly nervous. "I am sorry. I know you are busy. I should not have. You called me. That means something is wrong." He looked her over carefully, checking for injuries. "What happened?" "It is not me. It is the station. They are closing it. 300 people will lose their jobs." Taehyun's expression shifted from concern to understanding. "And you called me for them?" "I did not know what else to do. I am sorry if this was not important enough." "Stop apologizing," he said gently. "You called because people need help. That is always important enough." Relief flooded through Da-eun. "Can you do anything? I know it is human politics and maybe you should not interfere. Tell me everything." She explained the situation. The budget cuts, the contracts, the families who would suffer. Taehyun listened carefully, asking questions, taking mental notes. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment, thinking. "I can fix this," he said finally. "Really?" "The Drakon Imperium has wanted to establish an official embassy in human territory for years. Your government has been reluctant. But if I offered to fund this station as our embassy location, they would accept immediately." "You would do that?" "I would." He smiled slightly. "Besides, I have been meaning to implement my cultural exchange programs. This station would be perfect. We could bring in counselors, teachers, artists from different species. Make it a true center for understanding." Da-yoon felt tears forming. That would save everyone's jobs. It would create new jobs too. We would need translators, administrators, support staff. Taehyun pulled out his communicator. "Let me make some calls." He spoke to Yuan first, explaining what he wanted. The advisor sounded skeptical, but agreed to start the paperwork. Then Taehyun contacted Earth's diplomatic office. The conversation was brief but effective. When he finished, he looked at Da-eun. "It will take a few days to finalize, but it is done. The station will not close, thank you," she breathed. "Thank you so much. You do not need to thank me. You saved my family. This is nothing compared to that. Daun wiped her eyes, smiling through tears. How is Heirin? Is she well? Taehyun's face lit up. She is wonderful. Growing so fast. She says words now. Well, dragon words and a few human words. She keeps asking for Daun Sing. She remembers me. Dragons never forget. Especially not people who were kind to them. He pulled out his communicator again and showed her a video. In it, Heirin was bigger now, about twice the size she had been. Her white scales shined brilliantly. She was playing with a toy, babbling happily, when someone off camera asked what she wanted. Heirin said clearly, Daun. Want Daun? Daun's heart melted. She is beautiful. She asks about you often. Taehyun hesitated, then added quietly, She is not the only one who thinks about you. Daun looked up at him. There was something in his eyes, something warm and uncertain. Your Majesty, Taehyun, please, just Taehyun. Taehyun, she corrected. What do you mean? He took a breath. I have thought about you every day since we met. About what you said. How you helped me. Who you are. I have met thousands of people in my life, but none have affected me the way you did. I am just a waitress. You are not just anything. You are brave and kind and wise. You saw me as a person, not as an emperor. Do you know how rare that is? Daeun felt her pulse quicken. I only did what felt right. Exactly. He stepped closer. Dragons bond for life, Daeun. When we find our mate, we know. There is a feeling, a connection that cannot be denied. I felt it with Surin. After she died, I thought I would never feel it again, but... Daeun whispered. But then I met you, and I felt something. Not the same as before. Nothing will ever be the same as first love. But something new. Something just as powerful. Dragons are not supposed to bond twice, but here I am, feeling connected to a human I barely know. Daeun's breath caught. I felt it too. That night and every night since. I thought I was being foolish. You are not foolish. Taehyun reached out and took her hand. His was large and warm, his scales smooth against her skin. I do not know what this is. I do not know how it would work. You are human, I am dragon. You live on a space station, I rule an empire. Nothing about this makes sense, but, Daeun asked again, hope rising in her chest. But I want to try. If you want to try, I want to know you, to spend time with you, to see where this connection leads. Daeun looked at their joined hands. A dragon emperor was asking her, a simple waitress, to be part of his life. It was absurd, impossible, wonderful. What about your empire? Your duties? I am making changes. Delegating more. Actually taking time for myself, he smiled. A wise woman taught me that being present in my life is more important than just surviving it. Your advisors will hate this. They already hate half the things I do. What is one more? He squeezed her hand gently. Say yes, Daeun. Say you will let me try to earn your heart. She looked into his golden eyes and saw hope, fear, and genuine affection. This powerful being was vulnerable before her, asking for a chance. Yes, she said softly. Yes, I will. Taehyun's smile was brighter than any star. He pulled her into a gentle hug, mindful of his strength. Daeun wrapped her arms around him, feeling his warmth, his heartbeat, his presence. Over the following months, everything changed again. The station became the official Draken embassy. New staff arrived, counselors, teachers, cultural experts. The diner expanded into a cultural center where different species could share their traditions. Daeun became the director of emotional wellness programs. She taught classes on human emotional expression. She helped dragons and other species learn to process their feelings in healthy ways. Her dream of teaching came true, just not in the way she expected. Taehyun visited often, sometimes officially for diplomatic meetings, sometimes unofficially, just to see Daeun and share a meal. They talked for hours, learning about each other's worlds. He told her about dragon history, about the weight of ruling, about his fears and hopes. She told him about her childhood, her grandmother's wisdom, her brother's progress in school. Slowly, carefully, they built something real. It was not always easy. There were cultural differences, logistical challenges, and political complications. Yiwan remained skeptical. The Dragon Council was divided. Some humans thought Daeun was reaching above her station, but they persevered. Because what they had was too precious to abandon, just because it was difficult.